Mary Anushin, office coordinator at Suffolk University. I clicked on it, and guess what? It gave me her office email address. So guess what I was doing? I got a phone call from her. It was awesome. So this is what I did. Once you have the information about these possible relatives, because I'm telling you, number one resource, living relatives, the ones you don't know about. I wrote this letter, included the pictures, the nameless pictures that I had, but I had assumed, like this bottom picture, I had assumed that this was very possibly the family of Jacob and Joseph Anushin. Because of the census record, which gave the order of the children, there were older 3 girls, and then a son, and then another son, and then a daughter, and it named all the children, and their birth order, and I'm looking at this picture, and I'm thinking, that could be the family, because it's the same sexes of children in the same order, and that man is the same guy in all these other pictures. He's got to be related, and my suspicion was this was Jacob Anushin and his family, and that those 2 boys were probably George and Joseph. Oh, and I also included the obituary, so they could see that their names, George and Joseph, were in the obituary, and I included every single possible way that they could contact me. I gave them my Facebook thing. I gave them my phone number. I gave them my address. If you're acting on faith that no one's going to show up at your house and steal all your goods, But I gave them every possible way to contact me. And I also told them, and if you don't know anything about this family, but you do know someone, give the letter to them. Let's tell them to contact me. Go ahead. This is the response I got. 6 generations of genealogy. You are not going to find that on Ancestry. You're not going to find it on Family Search, unless it just so happens that someone else in your family already did the genealogy, already spent years doing research and put it on there. But for Armenian genealogy, the chances are slim. You want to find out information about your family, please do not spend a bunch of time trying to go back to the 1820s. Find the people who are still living now. This is, I'm telling you, this is the trick. 6 generations of genealogy going back to 1820. I got a letter from 101-year-old Florence Pashoyan. She's still alive, born in 1915. And in my letter, I included those photographs. I included more than what I showed you on the screen. And she labeled all the photographs for me and sent the letter back to me. Okay, guess what? Got another family tree. Same thing. And it turned out that this family tree was written by my great-grandfather. He gave it to his cousin Reuben, who gave it to his grandson, who I contacted because I got an email address from none other than Mark, our son. And it turned out that our families married each other over and over and over and over again. So again, I got another big, huge family tree because I contacted a living relative that I did not know existed. And that's a key thing for you to remember. Next one. Got another family tree. See, this is not stuff you're going to find on Ancestry. This is why you need to find the living descendants. This is my great-grandmother Samuelian side of the family. Okay, all these people, it named all her brothers. It says up at the top there that they were the priests of Keeney. It lists all their children. Some of them tells when the year they died, all sorts of stuff. Next one. Oh, that's lovely. I have no idea what that is.
It's a very blurry family tree.
Okay, and I apologize. I noticed that when I use different systems, it doesn't turn out the same. Yeah, see, this one's blurry and it's perfectly clear on my thing, so the different computers read it differently. This is a passenger manifest list, and it's blurry, but I can tell you what it is. So after you found your living relatives, and I had all that information, now I can start plugging in those names into things like Ancestry and Family Search, because now I have names and I can start going back. This is actually Minush Kashabjian, who's a relative. There she is over there. This is her passenger manifest. It tells the ship she came on, the year she came, it tells how old she was, it tells how she paid to get here. The important thing is it also names, most of the time, a living relative from whence she came. Okay, so it's going to name a living relative, which a lot of times is a parent or a brother. So if you don't know the names of your great-great-great-grandparents, it might be on one of these lists because it names a relative back home. It also lists the person they were coming to stay with here in America, and it gives their address. And Mark can show you that on his website. You can even find people just by looking up addresses. So a lot of people stayed with the same family member over and over and over again. Okay, so this is the first part of the page. This is the second half of the page. It keeps going. and it has all this information. And I'm sorry it's blurry. But passenger manifest gives critical information. Go ahead. The ancestry sites, family search sites, they also give World War II, World War I draft cards. These will often name relatives that that were other contacts. It gives this one mentions that he was from Dikrangar, which is now Diyarbakir. It just, all sorts of stuff. What his job was, that he had a wife and 2 children. This is from 1917. Go ahead. Okay, this is awesome stuff. This is a passport application. Photographs, ching! That's what you want. You want the photographs. Okay, so this person isn't actually a family member of mine. It's just one of those yucky things. I can't find one passport application for my family. But these are priceless. A lot of times, because a lot of times they do contain the photograph, but it gives places of birth, year of birth, other family members. Sometimes they'll name their occupation, a father or mother back home. Priceless information. This is all available, not for every single person, like I didn't have them for mine, but this is available on the genealogy websites, which you can access for free at your public library or family search center. Okay? Okay, my great-grandfather's obituary mentioned Garabed Gujidjian living in St. Louis, Missouri. And because I had his name, I could search. And this is his petition to naturalize as a United States citizen. All sorts of information on there as well. I also found, using the name from the obituary, Margaret Marderos, I found her marriage certificate. And it named parents, information that I did not have yet. It named the parents of her husband, who happened to be a cousin, so they were related. It was all the same family. So incredible information there as well. Go ahead. So this is another one, your Google search engine. I typed in a name. This is a name that was on one of my family trees that was sent to me, a name that I had never heard before, didn't know she was related to me. I typed her name, and all I did was a search on Google. It wasn't even a website, it was just a search. And the very first thing that came up was an interview that she gave about her survivor story. So I clicked on it. It sent me to the University of Michigan Dearborn website, where they have a collection of like 135 or so survivor stories. And you see that? You've got the transcript and a tape. You can listen to it too. So I was able to click on the PDF and have it written out in English and listen to the recording at the same time. Is that going to work?
I don't think so.
It's okay. It's all right. It's no big deal. Okay, so this was priceless. Not only did it tell me all about her family, it named all her family members, the other family members. There were 17 people living in the house. She named all of them, years when they were born, all sorts of information. And aside from, a lot of it was very difficult to read, you can imagine, because she was a survivor and she was telling her survivor story. So it was very, very difficult to read. But it was also wonderful. She's telling about her mom's favorite recipes and the songs that they sang as children, the games that they played, the places they liked to play in the neighborhood. It was fascinating. 17 pages of information. And you can listen to it online, except it was all in Armenian and Turkish, so I didn't understand a word of it, but I had the English translation written in a transcript. And this is incredible information. Okay, the National Archives and other government websites. Not everything is on Ancestry. Not everything is on Family Search. You're talking about millions and millions and millions of records that, at least with Family Search, it's just a bunch of volunteers who are going to the National Archives and photographing these pictures and uploading them, and then someone has to index all the information so that you can just type in a name and it comes up. Because 10, 15 years ago, maybe longer, you just had to look through thousands of copies and hope you found the right one with the right name on it. But now it's indexed, so all you have to do is type in their name and it'll pop up if it's been photographed and if it's been uploaded. But the National Archives page, we're going to talk about alien files really quickly here. But the United States, they call it used to be called INS, but now it's the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. You can write to them to get this information if it's not on Ancestry. State archives, every state has archives. You guys have a National Archives in Waltham. You can go in there, search the records, they'll charge you $2 to print it off. Totally worth your time. A lot of times the circuit court, this is where they would go to do the naturalization. So you can look at the archives for the district court in your area. Your county clerk's office is where you can order all the birth certificates, all that kind of thing. And you'll get, a lot of times you'll get parents' names. So if you don't know an ancestor's name, like great-grandma, great-great-grandma, it might be on the death certificate or birth certificate. Okay, so this is National Archives. This is about alien files. And you guys are lucky because you get me when it comes to this. The National Archives website has this search engine where you can type in the name of a relative. And I recommend just, you can try typing in their whole name, but it might not come up. If you just type in the surname, all the people with that surname will come up. Go ahead. And this is blurry, but it's on your handout. What you're looking for is an alien case file. And it will tell you, not everyone has one, for one thing. And not everyone who has one has their information on this website. The DC Archives has millions of alien case files. Anyone who came to the United States between certain years, I think it's up to 1941 or something, they were keeping records. But there's millions of them, and obviously the national government isn't really concerned about genealogy, so they're not spending a whole bunch of time and money to photograph them and make them available for you. Okay. So right now, they've decided that all the alien case files are going to be housed in the branch of the National Archives in Kansas City, Missouri, where I live. Okay, so I go down there frequently and photograph alien case files. Go ahead and click. So what will come up when you click on the name, if the name comes up, is this agency assigned identifier. It's the third thing down. That's their alien case file number. That means if a number comes up, that means they have that person's file in the Kansas City Archives. If it doesn't come up, that means that their file hasn't been consolidated and it's not accessible yet. But if it does come up, that means that Kansas City has their records. Go ahead. And their price list. Okay? Yeah, you can't really, no, I'm sad that it's not coming up very well. But it has photographs. This is my great-grandmother's son's wife. Brother's wife. Great-grandmother's brother's wife. Again, people I didn't even know existed. It has her photograph. It's got her birth certificate. It's got this letter that she wrote detailing all her ancestors, or not her ancestors, her relatives who are also here. It names her father. It names her sister that was living in Florida. Anytime an immigrant had any kind of interaction with the United States government, because they were trying to prove who they were, because they were trying to naturalize, because they were trying to, say, hey, I'm not a threat, anytime they had any interaction with the government, that stuff was put into a file. So birth records, it names the children, all sorts of stuff. Go ahead. Oh, see, this is all in Arabic over here, because she became a Lebanese citizen before she came to the United States. And there's records in here. It's naming her children, it's naming brothers and sisters, where they lived, all sorts of stuff. The jobs that she had, she was a pilot in the British, not a pilot, she worked with the British something, military or something like that. But all sorts of things. And some of these things might only have one piece of paper in it. If they didn't have a lot of interaction with the government, they might only have one piece of paper. But if they did have a lot of interaction with the government and they were trying to naturalize and having to send in all this documentation, everything got put into the file. And some of them have 75 pages of information about these people. Go ahead. So the thing about the archives, with the alien files, if you try to order it from Kansas City, from the archives, they charge you depending on how much information is in it. If there's 75 pages in it, you're going to be paying about $140, $150 to get the record. Okay? My email address is at the top of that paper I gave you. If you find their thing in there, you email me. I'll go down there and photograph it, send it to you for free. So don't. And the thing is, with the computer on Facebook or email, Facebook is easier because email files are limited. You can't send a whole bunch of stuff. But if you're in the Facebook group, I can send it to you while I'm there. I was taking the pictures and sending it. Here's her naturalization certificate. Here's her birth record. I was just sending them right away. I'll do it for free. So, oh, that's okay.
Sorry.
So this is just a death record. I ordered this from the city clerk, got the death record, and it named my great-great-grandparents. Now this was not a tree that anybody mailed me. This was the side of the family that we didn't have further information. I didn't find a relative who knew more information. We all kind of stopped at the same family. And this named my great-great-grandparents. So this was priceless because I didn't have that information before. Okay. So another way to search for information, this is where people don't necessarily think about things. So if you're someone who's been doing genealogy for a while, but you've kind of lost, you've kind of gotten as far as you can, this is a way to do it. It dawned on me, I'm doing Armenian genealogy, I don't know Armenian, and if I'm trying to find an Armenian record and someone in Armenia made it available, or there's an Armenian website, how am I going to find it? I don't know Armenian. So I go to Google Translate. I was looking for orphan camps. I had family members that ended up in an orphan camp. So I typed in Armenian orphan camp, translated it to Armenian, typed that into the search engine, and this came up. And up in the corner, I was able to click translate, and it gave me a list. There's like a whole list of orphans. They had a list of orphanages, of the kids that were in the orphanage. Okay? Go ahead. Same thing here. Someone was doing genealogy. They knew they had Armenian immigrants that had gone to Romania. I was like, oh, I don't know anything about Armenians in Romania. So I typed in Armenian immigrants, translated it into Romanian, and this website came up. A Romanian website. I would not have found it if I was typing in English. It's not going to come up. Go ahead. And this website has 1,500 records of Armenians that had gone to Romania. Most of them are business owners, but you can see over here on the side, they also have images of records and newspaper clippings. Okay? So there's all sorts of things, we just don't know they're out there. And the trick is finding how to find them. So other countries also have archives. These are the ones, I included these specifically because a lot of us have ancestors that ended up in Canada. A lot of them went to France, they went to Marseille. And the archives for Marseille, that's their web address. The National Library of France has a lot of information. There's an example here. A lot of them went to Greece. These are their archives for Greece. Okay, so this is the National Library of France. I knew I had Virginian relatives who went to France. Actually, they all did. Some of them came here, some of them stayed in France. And so I typed in the name of Hamayak Virginian. They spelled it differently, a trillion spellings. But I typed in the way they were spelling it when they were living in France. And the second one here is his naturalization record in France. It gave his date of birth. See, Hamayak, born the 20th of June. It's in French. I can read a little bit of French, but you can translate it. Copy and paste it. Stick it in Google Translate. Tell us the name of his wife. I didn't know his wife's name. Tadasine, something, Sarabian. It named their children, when she was born, where they were born. Incredible information. So these are the naturalization for France, and you can find it on their national library. Okay, so this is the Facebook group. This is how we're going to end. So if you join the Armenian Genealogy Facebook group, all you have to do is, you can see in the corner where it says joined over there, you would just click the join button, and if you, like I said, get your grandchildren to do it if you're not comfortable with the computer. Click on files. Go ahead, George. This is only a small portion of what we have on the site. I'm trying to use the Facebook group as a database for all these records that people don't know about, because you're not going to be able to find them if you don't even know to look for them and if they're in different languages. But we have a listing of DNA matches. George was able to get records from Turkey, records that people say don't exist. They do exist. They're just not necessarily easy to come by. He was able to get the census records from Karpert. I'm probably saying that wrong. But he translated them. They're on the website. Census records from Karpert. The graduates from different colleges. If you know a college that your family went to, if they were a teacher at some university in Turkey or Armenia, we might have them on the website. And pictures, too. Names and numbers of all the surviving people of Govdun village. There's just all sorts of things on here. And the orphan camp lists are on here. If we found them, if somebody in the group found lists of orphans living in this particular orphanage, we've got them on here. We also have refugee camps, people that were living in the refugee camps. And some of them have maps. They even show you the Sarabian family was living in this tent, and it's incredible. So join the group. Okay, so anyway, so I'm going to close now. Oh, wow, I did 33 minutes? That's incredible.
You got us back on track.
Yay! I was thinking I have to rush and hurry up, get us all in here. So this is just a collection of photographs of my family. But, so anyway, so the main thing, I hope the main thing that you got is to look for living descendants first, the ones that you don't think are out there, that are out there. Find the obituaries, find names, any way that you can. Ask, you know, if your grandmother told you about her parents and her family, ask her, what about your grandparents? Did your grandparents have brothers and sisters? What were their names? Write them down. And once you get as much information you can from the living relatives, that's when you want to start digging around in all these different archives and databases. Because let me tell you something. If the records are on Ancestry or Family Search or in a database or in a county clerk's office or whatever somewhere, they're going to be there tomorrow. They're going to be there a year from now. They're going to be there 5 years from now. You know what's not going to be here 5 years from now? That 100-year-old Florence Pashoyan, who, you know, heaven bless her, she's still alive, but you know, she's not going to be around too much longer. And if I hadn't contacted her, she wouldn't have been able to label those photographs for me. And the thing is, the younger generations didn't know who they were either. Some of them. So that's absolutely critical. Thank you very much.
I'm a little worried about the feedback here. I'm thinking if I'm in front of these speakers, we're going to get this feedback. Let me just, I'll wake you all up again. Okay. So, unfortunately, if you're going to ask questions, you're going to have to come over here behind these speakers. So, I will invite anybody, if you want to come over here. If you do have specific questions for Tracy, you're more than welcome to come up over here. I'm also going to keep moving until we don't get the feedback. I don't know. What do you usually? Huh? Go up on the stage, then everybody's going to have to go up on stage to ask questions. But if I'm in front of that mic, where do you guys usually do it for the ACEC? This works. No. We're going to make you stand in the corner if you're going to ask questions. So, I think we're going to have to go with this.
You know, lowering the volume might work too.
There's no...
Oh,
All right. I guess you can walk up here. If you're willing to walk up, we'll
you
do
can talk in this microphone.
I'm going to just say,
are you going to need this?
No.
If you're not, while we're doing the question and answer, do you want to swap mark your stuff?